We have Bill Drexel joining us, who is the fellow at Hudson Institute. Manga is a Republican Party leader and former Congress candidate. He's joining me from Washington, D.C. Veena Sikri, former diplomat, joins us. Welcome on this broadcast, ma'am. Ajay Bhutoria is Deputy National Finance Chair of Democratic Party. Mr. Manga, I'm going to begin with you. What impact do you see the H-1B visa issue have on the strategic partnership between the India and the US beyond just trade?
Oh, it will have a very significant impact on both ends. But then there's a lot of cleanup to do in house for us, and that's what we have been doing. There's a bit of give and take here. I think the people who are already here, they may not be affected, but then United States stand is that we need to vet everybody that's coming in, because we've had a lot of rights and everything for pro-Palestine and a lot of looting. And see, we don't expect immigrants who are students and F1s to be engaging in this kind of conduct. And that's where I think things went wrong and went south for a lot of immigrants from India. And there are a lot of other things, and we want to be America first and American job market to flourish, while Americans are
Yes,
sitting
all that
on
is
bench,
fine.
not going to get any
All that
jobs.
is fine, ma'am. The concern really is that H-1B visa, recipients have been part of the great American growth story as well. They are the
Absolutely.
dominant forces right now in the Silicon Valley. So to dismiss them as Palestine sympathizers may not be correct.
Well, there are a lot of other things that are
And
factoring
even
into
if
this
they are,
H-1B
how,
visa.
how does their political view really impact what they do professionally?
Oh, well, there's a lot of correlation. Even in my campaign travel back in 2020, I raised this as an important issue that United States is going on. We have opened up H1s. We flooded this country with H1s in 2020 after Y2K, and then we have never had a control over who is coming and what we are really requiring. So I've always propagated that the Department of Labor
Okay.
and Naturalizations, everybody have to work collaboratively to see
Okay.
how best
Let
we
me
are
bring
doing
in
to bring the best, to attract the
Mr.
best
Drexel now.
skills, and we are still going to have the best skills
Mr.
from India.
Drexel,
There's no
the
doubt.
presence of top two union ministers of India in Washington and in New York holding those crucial talks. Do you think there is that genuine effort that is being made by the Trump administration to seal the US India trade deal?
Absolutely. United
No,
States
that's a question
has
to Bill Drexel, please. Yes.
definitely.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think
go ahead.
that it's definitely a high priority for this administration. Obviously, we've had a rocky few months here, but there's no question. I mean, India is absolutely central to American strategic interests, and getting trade right is kind of a double emphasis of this uh, administration. They want to get the trade right in general. They want to get India right as well. So I think there's no question that this is going to get a lot of attention. And broadly speaking, I think the strategic community in DC understands that it's very important to get this right.
So, when you say that they have to get it right, is there some kind of timeline? Because India, of course, is visibly exploring newer markets. The sense in India right now, after the GST 2.0 reforms have been put in place, that there has to be self-reliance. India is looking at European Union. It has already sealed a trade deal with United Kingdom. So is there a sense of urgency in the US, or because of the size of the economy, they can, wait and watch? And how much will they be able to negotiate, particularly in the agriculture space, where India says that the interests of the farmers are primary?
Yeah, I think this administration seems to be signaling that it's willing to wait if necessary, and I think a lot of this is we got a couple of factors to consider. In terms of trade deals, the number of trade deals this administration's been pushing through has been basically unprecedented. It's really fast in terms of how they're doing this. India is maybe something of the exception there, but in that sense, we can say there's certainly an impulse to get this done quickly. On the flip side, though, it was predictable that getting a trade deal with India was going to be particularly difficult among the trade deals that the United States was seeking to reach, because there was a much higher degree of protectionism. So, from the outset of this administration, it actually would have been surprising if reaching a trade deal was a smooth process. Uh, it's unsurprising that it's taking a while, and it's unsurprising that it's taking much longer than it would take a lot of other countries.
So it
As I
has.
say, I think this.
Would you
Go
say
ahead.
then, Mr. Drexel, that this has much to do with the US administration, less to do with the Indian establishment?
It's hard to say. I think this administration's kind of basic stance is that every country has domestic policy difficulties, and it's a question of how they want to manage that with these negotiations. I think from their perspective, they'd say, "Well, look, we got a lot of deals done much more quickly than with India." So they might say, "Well, it's India's side." India may likewise say the opposite, that they're being intransigent, or they're making demands that India can't fulfill, or that are unreasonable to its domestic politics. So I think you can cut it both ways.
Okay.
It's hard to say.
Well, fine. Now, Veena Sikri, let's look at the broader context now, because the H-1B visa announcements come few hours before the arrival of Dr. S. Jaishankar and his scheduled meeting with Marco Rubio, and on the other hand, the crucial aspect of the trade talks. So how do you see the two issues, the economic policy and the context of immigration, linked here?
Certainly, I think all issues are interlinked. I do not think you can separate the decision to suddenly put in the $100,000 fee for the H-1B visas. And it's well known that 70% of the H-1B visas are going to Indians. You cannot delink it from the other issues of the tariffs and the other problems that have been coming up. Say, we do know that India has said quite clearly that it is a red line for India to protect the interests of India's farmers and dairy producers and fishermen and micro and small entrepreneurs. And that's the reason that we are unable to purchase large amounts of American corn or other products or milk because of the non-vegetarian feed given to the cows and the buffaloes and so on. So I think we cannot help but link all these issues. And the timing also makes it very clear that it's all linked. I mean, Monday morning, the meeting with Marco Rubio was scheduled for a long time, but then this happened over the weekend, the announcement of the $100,000 for the H-1B visa. Then we know that very quickly there was a correction to that. Earlier on, the statement was, no, it's going to be charged every year. But then there was a big, I think, response from the IT companies, and then it's been modified. So there are a lot of variables coming in all the time, and certainly it raises a lot of concern. I don't think it's fair to say that it's just India that has, in our tariffs, in the talks that have taken place on the trade and tariffs between India and the US, it has been a lot of accommodation. That is well known. It is well known also that the draft of the final trade agreement was shown to President Trump more than once, but it was not cleared by President Trump. So it's not that India has not made any concessions. India had made a very large number of concessions, but then also the question of, then putting in 25% extra tariff because India is purchasing oil from Russia. There are other countries purchasing oil from Russia, like China, like the European Union, like Turkey, but none of them have got this extra tariff. So I think this concern in India is about this very special treatment to India on certain critical issues as regards the trade and tariffs and as regards
Yes.
the H-1B visa. So it is our hope, we attach the highest importance not only to the relationship with America, we attach the highest importance to that. It's very important for India. We also attach high importance to the meetings today, right now as we speak, between Secretary of State Marco Rubio and External Affairs Minister Jaishankar, and between Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal in Washington, D.C. with Commerce Secretary Lutnick. So we hope that the the talks will go well. There will be a greater understanding. And I do think that the treatment, interests are paramount on each side, but the treatment should be similar to all countries.
Yes, absolutely. I
On the
mean,
one say,
that
because on
punitive
the one
tax,
hand, yeah.
punitive tariff of 25% only because India is purchasing the Russian oil and so does multiple other countries doesn't really hold. I mean, and then India being accused of fueling the war, and at the same time, Donald Trump going on to say in that call that he had with Prime Minister Modi to wish him happy birthday. He went on to say that he needs India's support and really respects India's support in ending this war, which of course has not ended. Ajay Jain Bhutoria, in terms of the stand of the Democrats, is there a sense that the H-1B visa matter within the broader context is only amplifying the tensions between the two countries?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, the way they have rolled out worked on the tariffs and they have worked on insulting India on various occasions in last few weeks, and so that has been to create the pressure tactics, but they failed. I mean, like they failed with Ukraine war and others. Now I have predicted earlier also that they will make a U-turn and come back to negotiation, because to counterbalance China, they need India as much as India needs US. US needs India as well. To counterbalance China, and the negotiation on the tariffs with China are coming up in few weeks. So they have to finalize tariffs deal with India before they go back to on a harder negotiation with China, and which they are not struggling right now. So I definitely think that there will be a good trade deal coming, but the trust between the two countries is lost. The work which was done in 25 years to build that relationship has been lost, and it will take time to come back to that relationship. Now, coming back to the H1 thing, I think that was a messed up rollout with Howard Lutnick saying 100,000 per year, and then circling back within 24 hours when a lot of us reached out to the White House saying, "What is this?" I mean, there was panic created, and what is happening is that this was to please his MAGA base, because they were failing on so many fronts and on
Yeah, so it's the
wars
domestic consideration which is driving
yes.
Donald Trump is the point here. But Bill Drexel, um, since you focus on US-India relations and foreign policy, do you think that there is a great degree of urgency now, particularly keeping in mind the ongoing talks between US and China?
I think there is a sense of urgency. I also think, it's not just China. The US is in talks with Bangladesh, with Pakistan. Uh, there's a lot of relations going on right now. I think it is true that the United States government has a goal to try to get as many things settled as possible before it really takes on the China issue, where it's expecting even more friction.
Okay.
So from that vantage point, I think there is a major sense of urgency.
Okay, so when you say that friction points with China will be more, and they want to really ensure that as far as the trade deal with India is concerned, it is wrapped up before that.
Yeah, I think that would be a goal. I think it's also not. It's also the case that they are. The sense I've gotten from the administration is that they are willing to walk away from deals. So it's not that they don't feel that they need a deal before them, but they certainly want one.
When you say walk away from the deal, what exactly does it mean?
Well, I think that their feeling is if they can't get a deal that is fair, beneficial to the American people in their estimation of what that means, then they're okay basically curtailing trade relations with particular countries.
Okay, okay. That actually, let me give the last word to Veena Sikri now on the show. Ma'am, the details which are coming in, of course, of that meeting which is concluded between External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar and Secretary of State Marco Rubio is that their focus was on a range of bilateral issues. They have gone on to say that as far as agreements are, they are looking at points of convergences. That's why priority areas have been discussed. So, of course, this meeting is happening on the sidelines of the UNGA in New York. Please go ahead, ma'am, your last comments.
Yeah, I think that it seems the meeting would have gone well. I think at least India's point of view would have been placed on the table very clearly, because I think that, for example, what you just said about what Mr. Drexel just said about wanting to do the India trade deal before the China discussions are finalized. I want to say that on the other hand, India is being thrown under the bus because China has stopped buying corn from America and has moved to Brazil to buy corn because of these very same trade talks between USA and China. But the pressure is on India to buy more corn, although we have explained that because of
Sure.
being genetically modified. So I think this is some of the issues that have to be looked at in more detail.
Okay.
You can't, you have a problem from China, you can't put it onto India's shoulder and to blame India then for having high tariffs and so on. So I think there's a great deal of understanding. I think the trust factor is very important, that was mentioned just now, a short while ago in the discussions, because I think that is critical. If you have
Okay.
trust, everything can be solved. And
All
I do hope
right.
that these two meetings will lead to better trust
All
between the
right.
two.
Veena Sikri, Ajay Jain, Manga, and Bill Drexel. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the News Talk. That's